Perfect. And yeah, we're back. Bev, we're just about to start with some material you had in front of you wanted to cover.
Well, you were talking about I wanted you to see if you wanted to continue a little bit more with your thoughts about women post-war and the you were talking about the computer chip industry and the electronics industry and the transistors and how there was such a gap that the expertise that the women gained back in the war and projects like Rosie the Riveter and welding and all that, as well as like chemists like Spy and statisticians like my mom, what were they going to do?
Right.
And so there was a gap that followed, but then as a result, the gap that followed resulted in us baby boomers. Okay, so that is...
And to clarify...
Yeah, you're baby boomer, I'm Gen X, and you're
first year
Y.
Zoomer.
You're a Z?
Yeah,
Gen Z?
Most of my class was millennial, being born in 96, but then I was born March of 1997.
All right, so boomer is 46, 64. Gen X is 65 to what, 85 or 84?
Yeah, something along
And then
that.
Gen Y.
No, then it's millennial.
Then millennials.
And millennial is whatever, 80s to 96, and then Zoomer is 97 to...
Gen Z.
Yeah,
Zoomer.
yeah, Gen Z,
Gen
but
Z.
it's then often...
There's not a Gen Y.
No. And then after Gen Z
Alpha.
is Gen Alpha.
Oh, God. They're like coming up now. They're the little geniuses that...
They're the ones that will probably start interning with us here in the next handful of years. Yeah.
And, I would just say maybe a little bit of your technology to brief Bev on what you're doing with drones, because she hasn't heard, just you share a little bit, because she may have ideas as to, other people to have on this podcast that could be more targeted to iView.
No, I don't know about that.
Actually, but the applications are so widespread, right? That's the crux of your whole...
Right, and it's like, I fail in my definition of success in life if, maybe not you in particular, but someone with your technical acumen and no care for drones whatsoever, other than like, hey, I care about drones at least to the degree I care about Jacob, and I know he really likes drones. But beyond,
that's true.
But beyond that, it's like, if I don't get everyone interested in buying a drone and then buying and using a drone on a daily basis, and that means the everyday mom, father, roofer, farmer, anybody and everybody in between, I failed. And so again, it's like, why would I even want a drone right now? It's like, well, there's already millions of people, literally millions of people, more than 1 million just in the United States, that buy a drone for no commercial purpose.
For entertainment.
Just for entertainment,
camera,
recreation, right? Again, essentially as a toy. And it's like a lot of those, many hundreds of thousands, if not, again, also in the millions, already cost $2,000, $3,000 or more. And all it does is it's your own personal flying camera. So what if you're spending that same amount of money, right, where there's already a market of 2+ million people globally, 1 million+ people in the United States willing to spend this much money on this type of device, but beyond just taking photos and videos, that same drone could also do your deliveries from your house to the local Amazon locker, or even bring your return to the local UPS store, right? You could pick up a small to medium-sized order of groceries. If you have kids and you're sick of them playing video games inside all day, have them go play video games, with the drone playing laser tag, as one of the examples. And that's just where, it's all so widespread on what we're doing, but we're just focusing on the common hardware and software platform. And yes, we're building some of the applications, some of the modules that can be used across many of those different industries, but we're never going to be the best people, making drones for roofing or drones for farming or drones for any one set purpose. But we can build, the best drone that can do 85 to 90% as well as those sort of custom use platforms. So I guess that's a little bit of an overview for how much you care to even respond to that. But
I think another way of saying it, you have a vision. Tell me if I've got this right.
Hopefully with no mental institution in my future.
He has a vision that drone use and applications and everyday use of drones is going to be very different in the future than it is right now. Because now it's small, and he's saying that there's a lot more applications, and that his interest ultimately, if you boil it all the way down, I would say this is to change the world with drones.
Right. Well, I'm
and make it more accessible, like more tangibly speaking, minimize the geographical barriers that keep people from one another, from the cargo or the like actual physical goods that they care about most, information that they want to go collect, that they might not have access to, but they can get a drone out there, right? Even if it's not their own drone. And then of course, over time, beyond just closing the gap between information and goods, actually closing the gap between people, where you can get in your own passenger drone and fly it or have it fly itself to where you want.
UPS and FedEx, I mean, all the packages and stuff that they deliver, I don't think it's far-fetched at all to think that in the future they're going to be they'll have a drone airport essentially at their location. The drones will just be constantly taking off, coming into land to restock, and they'll, your package will be dropped by drone in your front yard or
with
backyard.
all the talk around USPS, I think, especially if we want to live in a country where we're more self-reliant and less reliant on the government and the services that oftentimes just economically cannot make sense, that you as a homeowner are responsible for collecting your own mail, but instead of driving to the post office or what, you send your own drone to pick up your mail.
And you don't have CO2 emissions from your car, and you don't have gasoline costs.
The labor costs, and again,
you don't run
drones
the risk,
taking our jobs.
You don't run the risk of an accident in your car, because many accidents happen within a small, diameter or whatever, proximity to your home.
Right.
It's not necessarily the long haul trip. It's just running to the market and you have an accident. So anyway, there's just lots of,
Yeah, and I guess one other quick way to kind of summarize where I see, and you touched on this beautifully, even in the 40s, that people still wasn't 100% commonplace that everyone owned a car and knew how to drive them. And that was 4 decades after the automotive industry kind of took off, in any sort of real capacity, even though it was really around since the late 1880s. And so really 60 years, before even, again, the interstate system, which is, kind of just taken for granted for how accessible it makes cars and, travel for us. And it's like, we're still in like those Model T moments of the automotive industry and the drone industry.
Yep.
Obviously still lots of money to be made before it gets to the point that the automotive industry is today. So it's not like we're at the Wright brothers level, inventing the drone either. Right. But the way I like to tangibly see like the difference of like where car operators used to be called that, right? But now you operate a car, you're just a human, right? That's part of the human condition. Same thing with operating a computer. You used to be a computer operator, or there used to literally be like NASA titles for people. They were called computers, right? In the same way they were called calculators as well.
Like in the movie Hidden Figures.
I'm not familiar, but yeah.
And for NASA, they called women that did statistical work computers. They might have called my mother a computer. I don't think she ended up programming the first IBM computer in Tennessee for production. She turned an accounting IBM computer into a computational production computer. And with the old punch cards, but she did that. And
again, you go talk to those people that everyone is going to be using a computer, yet no one's going to have the title computer. That's far-fetched, sort of imaginary. And here we are, where there's, in the United States, about 2 million drone operators. About half of those are commercially registered, making money, or at least attempting to make money with a drone or drone business of some sort. And then there's, again, about 1 million of them just strictly recreational, right? So all in all, you have about 2 million drone operators out there. It's only a matter of time before that becomes 20 million, 200 million, 2 billion, and then literally 6+ billion people, not drone operators anymore. It's just
they use it. Yeah.
Right.
Interesting. All right.
Well, yeah, I've got
interesting
about that because of the growth and what all's going to happen. Because I know I don't want to talk about politics, but at the same time, I see this as a win-win for young entrepreneurs like yourself. But I also possibly see it as a problem for voyeurism et cetera, that could occur as a result of that, and where the legal ramifications and liability would come in from a legal standpoint. And that's where you come in with governmental rules and whatnot that do concern me, okay? Yep. And I also see an issue where we might have to be looking at a registration and a taxing situation if there are going to be that many out there because of that's just
we don't
me.
Want this podcast. Maybe this is a secondary thing.
I know, and I just didn't want to get into that, but I'm just giving you
don't wind Jacob up too much.
No, I'm just giving you my vision on that.
We want to knock off in about 30 minutes, so this is another topic. Really.
I know it is, and I'm just.
Thanks for getting us started on it, Jim.
I just wanted you said to do it, and you wanted my input based on my background. That I wanted just to give you my 2 or 3 cents on that, because I'm also concerned right now is what's going to happen to road taxes. If there are that many, how are we going to maintain our roads? And this is bringing this near term, okay? How are we going to maintain our roads and more people get electrical vehicles? They're not paying gasoline tax. So that's something that I've been thinking about, but I haven't gone to the Google machine or asked somebody, and what they're planning down the road is to maintaining our lifestyle that we're used to and maintaining our roads and bridges.
Another aspect.
Another aspect of it. And so, right now, we're trying to, at Oak Ridge is thinking forward about that with the Department of Energy that started a decade or plus or more ago about reclaiming these sites at Oak Ridge for the future of nuclear power. Jim's father, general manager of a nuclear power plant. Oak Ridge is now starting through the work of many previous administrations, Manhattan Project 2, because of using nuclear power on a smaller scale to help do the AI computer revolution, okay?